Hey guys, my name's Seth Rosenblum, and welcome to these licks in the style of Stevie Ray Vaughan. I tried to pick 10 licks that kind of cover some different areas of Stevie's playing while staying away from some of the classic ones that everyone might already be familiar with. So by no means should you take this as a definitive guide to everything Stevie Ray Vaughan, but it's a little starting piece, whether you are familiar with his playing or not, to kind of get into what his technique is about and kind of what he sounds like. So I hope you enjoy these licks and have fun learning them. So this lick would work really well over a G blues. So that's if our chords are a G7, C7, and D7. And this phrase would be over the one chord, over the G, and those first couple notes are a pickup, then landing on the one, and outlining that one chord really nicely. In here we have a couple bends, and we also have this little kind of triad shape here that Stevie uses a lot, kind of at the top part to outline those chords, and it gives a really nice bluesy sound there. So this lick would fall, as I said, over the one chord. So if we played that G, the pickup into it, and then we're ending that phrase on the G note. So once again, we're using this lick as part of a G blues, where our chords for the whole blues progression would be that G7, C7, and D7. And we're starting this off on the 4 chord. We're using this voicing here, where we're actually using a G in the bass, but that 4 chord, and Stevie kind of taking from the Jimi Hendrix thing. You'll see a lot where he's bridging the gap between rhythm and lead playing, using some more chordal shapes in his lead playing. Then we do this little descending run. And now this little 2-note chord. And what that 2-note chord is it's right out of a G major chord, outlining the G. So in terms of where you're going to use this, you're going to start it over the 4 chord, and be getting back to that 1 chord right when you outline it. So it's a great phrase to use moving again from the 4 chord to the 1 chord over the 12-bar blues. So this lick here is really showing Stevie's influence of Hendrix, where it's almost that little wing kind of thing where you're mixing some chordal playing in your lead playing with kind of this outline of right here, you have your G7 chord up here, and by playing this bar, you're playing the top of that G7 so it can work over that G, and then you're just throwing a few notes on top. It's almost what a lot of kind of modern soul players have taken with a bunch of hammer-ons and pull-offs, and Stevie did this a lot with. So we're just outlining that chord the whole time and throwing some notes on top. What's important to pay attention to here is that you're really keeping something of that chord ringing underneath the whole time. So I'm letting this ring out as much as possible until I get down below, and then I'm ending back on that chord. You can kind of take this with any chord. In this sense, we're playing it over a G blues, so that's over the 1 chord. But you could do the same thing over the 4 chord. Could do it up here. And use that to just really nicely outline a chord. It's especially useful if you're playing in a trio setting, which early in his career, Stevie did a lot. Because when you're soloing, you just have the bass player underneath. You don't have a keyboard or anything, or another guitar player. So using some of these chord shapes in there kind of keeps the harmony going on even when you're soloing. So this is a classic Stevie bending lick, very influenced by Albert King, who was one of Stevie's big influences. And here we're in position 2 of the pentatonic if we're over a G blues. So we're up here in this box, and we're bending on the 8th fret a whole step. And it's really important to just keep that bend up for as long as you need it held. And if you notice, I'm rebending it each time. That kind of keeps a little bit of that, the variance in note that gives it some attitude. And this you can use over multiple parts of the blues progression. It all kind of comes down to where you resolve it to. So in this point, I'm ending on a G note, so it's probably going to be over the 1 chord. But if I resolved it to the C, that could work really well over the 4 chord too. But Stevie was famous for his bends, and you can do this either with the pick playing it or even with your fingers if you want to get a bit more attack. To just really get that flesh under there. But these bends are a great example of Stevie's playing. So this lick is very heavily influenced by Stevie's tune Scuttlebutton, and it's in the key of E. Realize for a lot of these, Stevie tuned down a half step for everything. So the song was actually in E flat, but it's played on an E, a guitar tuned down half step, not somehow else on a standard tuned guitar. But this phrase really just outlines an E dominant 7 chord. We're starting with kind of this little open string thing. And we're just outlining the blues scale coming down, and then I'm ending on kind of the dominant 7 sharp 9 chord there. And the problem with this lick, not problem, but kind of the limitation, is that using so many open strings, while many of these you can put into different keys, use in different contexts. This one is somewhat limited to being in the key of E and being over that E chord. With this one, just be careful about kind of working up the speed and making sure that the notes are really even. You start off with those open strings, and it can be kind of easy to get a little messy with those and let things ring out too much, so just pay attention to that. So this lick, once again, is in the key of E. If we're playing an E blues, where our chords would be an E dominant 7, A7, and then a B dominant 7. And we're up here at the 12th fret in position 1 of the pentatonic, but up at the 12th fret. And we're starting on the 12th fret of the G string. And it only uses a few notes, but what makes this one kind of cool is we have some really kind of silky bends in here. And it sounds really nice where we're just staying in this position. We're ending on the 3 right there, outlining that 1 chord. So we're probably using this over the 1. And alternatively, what I just did there, instead of playing that second bend at the 14th fret with a bend, you can use a slide there too. Stevie would sometimes interchange these, so either doing this or this. And you hear they have slightly different sound with the bend versus the slide, but they both sound really nice, give you some different options. You can even do them back to back to give kind of a call and response thing where you have a little variation like this. So this lick is very Stevie-ish, where he's using a high pedal tone. A pedal note tone is a note that stays the same through the lick. In this case, it's the 12th fret on the high E string. That E, this would in context work over an E blues, and then the other notes are right inside the E blues scale, and we're moving around with those while the 1 note stays the same. Now, because you have a gap with the strings between the lower note and that pedal tone, we have to use hybrid picking. In this case, we're using it like a claw, where the pick and the middle finger are going to be plucking at exactly the same time. It's not like hybrid picking where we're just using the middle finger to grab a couple other notes every once in a while. This is each doing them together. And then we're ending on a little descending run there. So just work on the hybrid picking. Make sure the attack is really even between the pick and the middle finger, because if not, you'll have one of the notes a lot louder than the other. So here's a phrase back in the key of G, where we're starting up here at the 15th fret, coming right outside of that pentatonic shape. We're starting with a little roll where we're playing the 15th fret with our first finger on the B string and E string. And instead of barring both, where it'll sound kind of like this, and it'll just ring too much, we're rolling that finger from one string to the other. Playing a nice big bend at the 18th fret, and then kind of descending right down. Again, Stevie used the blues scale on the pentatonic a lot, so it's coming right out of that. This is a cool one to use over the 1 chord. You could also use it over the 4 chord. And fit that there, but it's just a really nice blues phrase to have as you move up the neck. So this lick's in the key of A, so our chords with an A blues would be an A7, D7, E7, and very Stevie-ish where we have a little kind of half-step turn in here that makes it sound interesting. Pretty much right out of the pentatonic blues scale box here. We're starting with kind of a classic little walk up there. But what really gives the cool sound it has is that little turn there where we're going actually from the 1 to the flat 2 or sharp 1, just this little turn. And then going right back into the scale. So it's a note from outside the scale where it's normally used as a little chromaticism going between the 1 and 2. Here we're just using it kind of on its own. But it gives a really nice sound here. And this one, pretty much primarily, we're going to use over the 1 chord. And we're landing on that really nice last first finger where we want to use a lot of good vibrato there to kind of end the phrase strong. So here's a pretty traditional blues lick, more out of the school of like T-Bone Walker and also used by a lot of Texas blues players. Sort of reminiscent actually of Stevie's brother Jimmy. And this one's in the key of A. It's a really good ending phrase. If you're like ending a song, you could use this, where after the although for there, instead of going up to the 5, you'd probably want to end it on the root note, the A. But we're starting off here with using these little 2-note things where we're just barring on the B and E string and then the B and G string. So right down the blues scale kind of thing. And this one, as it's written, ends on the 5 chord. Because that outlines the 5. And we're using a bunch of little chord shapes here, these ones to start, which are kind of just little dyads. And then in the middle, we have that right there, which is just outlining that 1 chord, since that's right out of our A major chord. So it's cool blues lick that's very old school sounding and was definitely a big part of Stevie's playing.
If you enjoyed this lesson, check out Pickup Music. We have hundreds of lessons across all styles and from the world's top guitar players. You can start your free 14-day trial today. I'll see you there.